Hello, world of the internet. Welcome to the first Symphony of the Night Randomizer tournament. The randomizer created by Mouse, also known as Snowprim. He's in chat here with us as well. And joined today for commentary is S Diesel and TurboDog702. Want to guys introduce yourselves?
Sure, I am S Diesel.
I'm TurboDog702. We're going to be commentating this first match of the SOTN Randomizer tournament here. It's going to be between Raneofsotn and Manlynessness, as discussed before. Should be kind of interesting. Typical clear time for randomizers runs between 50 minutes and an hour 10, so you can expect somewhere around there. For full rules on the competition, if you guys are interested, you can always go to tournament.soton.io, and you can see full tournament rules there. And we'll maybe be discussing that a little bit as we continue on here, but we'll have to see how this develops.
Yeah, it should be an interesting first match of the tournament. We have players ranging from all different skill levels in the tournament. And I even got bugged to join my own tournament, so it'll be interesting to see how I do myself. I have been doing okay in the randomizer practice with a bunch of the guys that we've been getting together and doing them in the late nights, Eastern time mainly, but it's been a lot of fun, and be a pleasure to bring you guys a sort of competitive view of the Symphony of the Night Randomizer. So we're going to move it on here to game screens here. So on the left here, we have SOTN, and on the right, we have Manlyness. Both players have the seed loaded, ready to go. And all right, so gonna get a confirmation for our racers.
So for those of you unfamiliar with the Symphony of the Night Randomizer, you can always go ahead and check it out at soton.io. As mentioned, it was put together by Wild Mouse with assistance from some of the other people in the long library server, just giving him ideas on logic and sorting out random bug things. But be sure to kind of get a little bit more information on that so we can get him a nice little blurb for this.
All right, so our racers have confirmed that they're ready, so we're gonna start this up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
All right. So starting off inside of this, something to note about the randomizer. The randomizer does indeed randomize what items you get from the prologue. So if the racers elect to, they can get over 41 hearts in order to see an extra item. They can end the fight with 0 hearts to see another one. Those will replace both the neutron bomb and the heart refresh that you would normally get at the end of these fights. It's also possible that in an extreme gamble they could get themselves killed and get the potion, but it seems like a huge investment for just a chance at something useful. As is typical with SOTN speedrunning in general, you want to try to kill Dracula in less than a minute to get optimal stats on Alucard, but pretty easy through this first section here.
Yeah, both had a pretty good fight.
So, of note, the starting items for Alucard will be randomized. We do not currently know what those are, but we'll be able to see those. Since this is Glitchless Spikebreaker, which is kind of a community driven category for randomizer, they will be losing access to those items. Kind of an interesting quirk of Symphony of the Night is that the items you have at the beginning of the game are kind of flagged as starting gear, I guess you could say, and death will always take them from you.
One thing I do want to point out is they could save their starting gear if they get lucky and grab a library card as one of their first few items they pick up.
Yeah, that is one of the few ways that you can get out of the death cutscene in this particular tournament, because it is not considered a glitch. It's just merely using an item that you got access to. However, you're not going to get a lot of chances at that. It's possible that a random drop could occur with that, but you only get a couple item drops or item checks before you actually reach death. So
Yeah, and it's usually within that wall that they walk through right at the beginning on the little destroyable floor right there that Rain did. Sometimes you can get a card there as well.
So of note, since all the gear was taken, there's going to be a little bit of backdashing here at the start, since we do not have access to a shield. All of these runs are going to be done with a clear file, so because of that, we'll be able to skip cutscenes. First check for an item for Rain is going to come out to be a resist ice, or at least one of the out-of-the-way ones. So it'll be interesting to see what our first relic is for this. Normally in the game it would be the Cube of Zoe, but we're going to get to see what it turns out to be this particular seed.
Yeah, Manly deciding to skip that middle check, and first relic is Echo of Bat.
Yeah, Echo Bat, not particularly useful for this tournament. It can be relevant for people that are less familiar with some of the more, I don't want to call it recent tech, but the stuff that's been kind of rediscovered and refined for the purposes of the randomizer tournament. It used to be that people went for the Echo pretty heavily at the start of randomizer, but since then we've come up with a bunch of easily accessible tools to do the bat room to the spike breaker blind. So kind of a little bit of a useless relic, I guess you'd say. Of note, Rain got access to a Gurthang. Gurthang is a second castle drop, so he's going to be pretty good on effective power for some time.
Ooh, and a Ring of Paley's in the wall, not bad. And Manly's going to go for the floor item.
Yeah, if you can give me an update on that. I'm having a little bit of trouble getting both streams to go. Yeah, really big drop there.
A little bit of luck there. Yeah. Alucard Mail on that drop is really good. Alucard Mail is one of the best armors in the game.
Yeah, so Rain is good for effective defensive power at this point. He's actually kind of good for offensive power as well, although he would definitely want something a little bit more punch. But having a second castle item is good enough for now. So of note, because we do not have access to Cube of Zoe, the items will not appear out of the candles and torches. So because of that, something like getting a drop of a sub-weapon from an axe armor is somewhat valuable. That item, the axe, will be replaced by a random sub-weapon. It could end up just being an axe again, it might not. Some other good options to get as drops beside the axe would be Holy Water is kind of the classic.
Couple decent money drops on Rain's side. Manly went for the item check above the little spike setup there. Looks like it was just a cloak.
Yeah, that is one of those checks that's going to cost you a fair amount of time to do a check on, but if you don't have access to something a little bit more powerful, it might be worth your time to grab it.
Yeah.
So here's probably one of the first big decision points. I think they're both going to go for the Spirit Orb location, but do you think that either of them is going to do the hidden elevator before Doppelganger?
That would be a decent check if they have nothing good until they get there. But I'm going to guess that both of them won't go for it at this point.
It's a fair determining factor. I mean, if you have access to a weapon and armor, you're kind of not married to that idea.
Yeah. Like if you're really desperate for something, then yeah.
Nice minor strat if you are lacking power once again. You can always check in this tall room with the spirit orb that Rain is in. You can check the extra items to be able to see if there's anything powerful up there for later. Of note, we did get what the sub-weapon is that's on the Axe Knights. It is going to be an Aquinas, the lightning gun, as we see on Manly's screen.
Yeah, also the Spirit Orb Relic location was the form of mist, so the runners do have an option of making a quick Colosseum check here, and it looks like, yep, Rain is going to go ahead and do that as well.
Another thing to note, even though I don't think they're going to go for it, is because they got missed there that early, they can actually check the hidden elevator room before Doppelganger without using the elevator. They can just miss through.
Right. So if you're not familiar with the tech that they just used with Mist, whenever you untransform out of a transformation, you can actually dive kick off a candle or just pretty much anything. You can dive kick, period. And in that instance, it actually gets you up into the Colosseum a lot earlier than you're intended to, which is really nice.
The skill of the wolf is the check on Minotaur and Werewolf. That is relatively useless to them. Something to note is you do need the forms of an ability. For example, if you get Moving Mist before you get the Mist form, it doesn't matter. You still need the Mist form.
Right, yeah, you got to get that one first. Well, you got to get that one to use it first, yeah.
Looks like Manly is also going to elect to go into the Colosseum early.
Ooh, that looks like a good ring. Arcana, okay.
So, Rain doing... I mean, it's not a huge gamble, but he is deciding to take the time to equip that. It could be relevant if a big drop comes his way, but not something that he particularly needs at this time. Brilliant Mail's not bad, but he has Alucard Mail already, so
yeah.
Again, not super exciting. Manliness is going to go ahead and check the side entrance here. That's going to give him access to 3 item checks. None of them are going to be relics, but maybe he can get some effective power here.
Yeah, I like this room as an early check because it is 3 potentially really good items. And if you can get there early in your first trip through the clock room, then definitely.
What's your thoughts on the teleport chamber near Oil Rocks? Because I noticed both of the players decided to not go for it as a potential teleportation near the middle of the map.
So that portal is really good to get early if you can get there. The only problem with getting to that portal is the 2 enemies on the way there. They are really tough to get through. They have a lot of HP, and if they do manage to hit you with anything, they're dealing at least, like at this early in the run, they're doing at least 20 to 30 HP per hit. So is the risk worth the reward? That's usually based, by runner, but if you can make it through there pretty easily, then I'd say go for it.
Rain has decided that he was going to go ahead and check that room as well. And I was actually going to mention this. You can always just teleport past them with Hellfire.
Very true. That's very true.
Of note, that is not a glitch inside of the game either. Whenever you do Hellfire, if you press down as you're casting it, Alucard will crouch out of it. You can also hold up as you cast Hellfire to do a modified version of it, typically called Dark Inferno. Just little casual tips things. Another kind of interesting thing about Hellfire is you have a fair amount of invincibility after the move ends, like even after you shoot the fireballs.
I would like to note that we have looks like we're going to have a little bit of a route divergence. So it looks like Manly's going to take the chapel up to the top of the castle, and it looks like Rain is going to head typically what most runners do at this point after checking an early Colosseum is head to the library. But Manly's going to go ahead and head to the castle keep and see what the relic is on the top of the castle.
Quite frankly, I think this is a fine decision. For those of you that might not be as familiar with history of kind of high-level SOTN play, Raneofsotn, as you might imagine, has played quite a bit of Symphony of the Night and has speedrun it, especially during kind of the more early days of the game. So he has a really strong knowledge base and a pretty good mechanical understanding of the game. So given that Manly is quite a bit less experienced and quite a bit at a disadvantage for execution, it would make sense if he is doing this deliberately to take a gamble. Randomizer is one of those things where you are rewarded extremely heavily for having a big skill discrepancy between players. Just the person with the higher skill will be able to check more places much more fast. But if you're the person that maybe can't traverse the castle as quickly, you can take a gamble, do something perhaps suboptimal in order to get access to an item much, much earlier.
Yeah, I totally agree on that. Like, he's definitely hoping for something really good up here.
Something that you typically don't see inside of Symphony of the Night speedrunning, that cutscene with Maria right after Hippogriff, that only occurs kind of when you enter on that side. So Rain should make relatively quick work of Doppelganger here, between Gurthang and just the AI loop that you can do against him. For those of you that don't know, you can kind of like move away and then jump towards Doppelganger and get him in a pattern. There's a few other ways you can approach it as well, but this is a nice way that kind of everybody can do, even if you don't have access to the stopwatch. Did you happen to catch on Manly's screen what the relic was?
I did not know.
Well, we'll get to see in just a moment, I suppose.
Looks like it's something good because he's going to go straight for it.
At this moment, Manly is deciding not to take the teleporter here. So teleporters are one of those things that is not... It's one of those things you don't really see too much in the normal speedrun for the game. Okay, well, now he's picking it up.
Okay,
It's
yeah,
something that you don't really see too often, but it's very, very important for the premise of Randomizer because there are times where you just have to get across the castle quickly, and there's no way around it. So getting access to teleporters early is pretty important.
Yeah, and that one's probably easily one of the two most important portals to open up early as well. So elevator in on the outside there has the first Drac piece of the eye. We're gonna need to still collect all 5 Drac pieces to get to Dracula for the end of the game.
Bit of a correction here. The Maria cutscene is for if you defeat Hippo before a Minotaur werewolf. So we're going to be coming up to the library here on Rain's side. He does have a little bit of money banked up. I know that he got an opal drop from one of the vases inside Oroc's quarters. So he'll be at least able to take a look at what is available and maybe pick something up that's nice as a result of that. He's also somewhat upgraded his weapon, as you might have picked up.
He's also picked up the Power of Mist. So within combination of Form of Mist, he can now pretty much access a lot more areas, especially with the Fairy card pickup here. And Demon card is in Fairy.
So Demon card, pretty useless in this situation. You could use Demon card in order to get a couple of item checks. if you needed effective power. But once again, because of the items that both players have gotten access to this early in this seed, they're not going to have to do a ton of checks. They might go out of their way to check 1 or 2 if they're not too much of a detour. But, you know, right now they're just trying to make their way over to relics for effective mobility, as that is the thing they're lacking. So, if you were wondering what types of things you need in order to complete a game in this tournament, since this is called Glitchless Spike Breaker, you are required to pick up the Spike Breaker, you are required to get the gold and silver rings to get the Holy Glasses and save Richter, and get all 5 relics in order to access the final Drac Chamber. To that end, you are pretty much required to get Mist or Wolf and a thrusting weapon that you can exploit to get extra height. Mist and Wolf in order to do a technique called Wolf Rising. Moving Mist, Gravity Boots, or Bat. What you need to do is be able to gain large amounts of height, is what it comes down to. And those are the only relics that give you solid access to that. You also require Jewel of Open as well. Is another thing. Something
Yeah.
that often gets forgot, I guess. Is
It kind of does, because it's like you're so used to vanilla where you just buy it in the shop, but like, yeah, you gotta actually go out and look for it before you can head to Catacomb.
Alright, let's see this shop. Sword card, Heart Refresh. Heart Refresh at 200 isn't bad, actually. Buffalo Start 300 is okay. Heaven Shield, Alucard Shield at 400.
That's really good. Varda at
Duplicator at
3,000.
4,000.
Yep. It's not a bad shop.
I'm curious if Rain just bought things too quickly, or if he actually deliberately elected not to take the duplicator.
That could have been the case. He definitely didn't need sword card for sure. But I don't know if that would have even left him enough money for a duplicator or not.
The duplicator was at 4,000, I think.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
between that Heart Refresh, he has library card already. I feel like he might have just been buying things as he was seeing them and just kind of ran out of money when he saw it. I don't know, something to ask him, I guess, at the end of it.
Yeah, with Ring of Varda in there for relatively very cheap money, 3,000 is not too bad. You run double Varda with any equipment you have, you're going to be pretty well set for this.
That's true. I do kind of like Duplicator just because of how much utility it can get. You don't need much more than Duplicator in order to break the game.
Very true.
Having access to infinite library cards could be relevant. The Heart Refresh could be pretty nice if he ever got access to a sub-weapon. That being said, haven't seen Cubozob yet, so I'll have to see what happens. Life Apple, it looks like Manly is going to check the side area as mentioned before. We'll see what we can get in here. Nothing too exciting. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of effective power, but nothing that is really blowing me away that is like, wow, I'm glad I made that check type of thing.
Right. We should be coming pretty soon on Jewel of Open and a couple checks here, because we're eventually going to need that to get to the bottom of the castle.
So a couple other things to note is that due to the relic logic, I'll have to confirm some things with the Randomizer's creator, but from the little bit of knowledge that I picked up from asking people, it is guaranteed in the logic that Jewel of Open, Mist, Bat, and Echo are all going to be in the first castle. I believe that's accurate. So we'll just have to see when Bat presents itself.
Oh, I missed that. Okay.
So what are some of the things that, because I know you've spent a fair amount of time kind of messing around with the randomizer, and you're in this tournament too, from what I remember. What types of things are you looking for when you make your way through the castle, especially the first castle?
Through the first castle, I think the first thing that I look for is a solid armor and a weapon. If you can get both of those pretty early on, I think it helps with just kind of like doing like movement is also very important, but I think having that equipment, if you get that early on, it makes everything else easier. And then after that comes your movement. If you can get really early bat, that's always good. Or I mean, even if you have to settle for Power of Mist and Form of Mist, as long as you can get to all the relic checks as quickly as possible, that's kind of what I've been getting used to and wanting to hope for in the seeds that I do. But also, a lot of the times it's like say you do like in the first 5 minutes, how well equipped are you for the library as well? Like, do you get a library card? Do you have something to sell? How much money do you have when you get there? There's a lot of seeds where you can get to library and you don't have a lot of money and you need the relic there just for progression. So that's also something that you sometimes have to keep in the back of your head as well.
For the little bit that I have worked with the randomizer, I do find that seeing what's in the library is really paramount. Even if you don't have the money, just understanding what you're shooting for and what you need access to is kind of important. Because
Yeah.
you're going to want to do both of the relic checks there anyway. So just getting an idea of what is there, even if you don't quite have the money yet, can sometimes be valuable.
Yeah, very true.
So a bunch of item checks here.
Yeah,
Nothing.
like the room right before Succubus here is always good for item checks. You get 6, you get 5 vases right there, and then 1 right before that. You can usually get some good stuff. You got a Kingstone. If you didn't already have Ring of Varda, that Kingstone would come in really handy.
So let's see if Manly does the same thing. I mean, he's looking, so...
You know, he's got to see
yeah.
that Alucard shield for the 400. He gets the Varda.
He went double Varda. Yeah, he did kind of the same thing, I feel like.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, I think he's thinking of the long game here. He's thinking double Varda is hopefully going to carry me pretty far, regardless of my equipment.
See, but here's the thing: is he had access to the Buffalo Star, so once again, duplicator is.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like this was just a mistake for both players. They got excited at seeing good items, and kind of important to see the whole shop list.
Yeah, I honestly would probably... Oh, there's a library card on Rain's side. He can be able to make a little bit of a shortcut after Spikebreaker. There's a shield rod. Wow.
So that I think Rain did pick up Alucard Shield as well.
He definitely did. So yeah, that's gonna come in handy with the Alucard Shield. And if you're not familiar with those 2 sets of equipment, it pretty much gives you the best attack in the game when you use them in combination.
Yeah, that is also on the path, kind of the critical path you would take exploring the castle. So I would expect that Manly will pick that up as well. Of note, he can't just completely abuse the Alucard shield because he doesn't have access to infinite mana like you might have in some of the other glitched categories. So because of that, he is going to have to use it a fair bit sparingly. Hey, look, Power of Sire. That's pretty good with Duplicator.
Yeah, it actually is. And honestly, yeah, I would probably, if I see the Duplicator first, I would probably make that purchase before I do anything, because you never know what you're going to find throughout the rest of the season.
I mean, they already had items. I think, as I said, I think it was just they were like buying stuff as they saw it rather than giving a scope of the whole list. They still got good items, though. I don't want to make the appearance that I'm saying that they bought garbage or something, because there were definitely other good items in there. It's just I personally feel like Duplicator has a much higher upside.
I think it's really based on your style of play. You're either going to use like equipment to your advantage, or you're going to use that Duplicator. I really think it just depends on how you play the game.
Maybe, but I feel like it doesn't take a lot to break Duplicator, right? Like the minute you get a potion, you have infinite invincibility, infinite healing. Library card is well-used mobility. You are going to get access to the teleporter, so it gains a little less value, I feel like.
Yeah.
But Buffalo Star, Cross Star, Shuriken, basically any throwable weapon is going to give you a huge offensive burst at distance. And if you get access to a Mana Prism...
Yeah, I was just going to say that. You can't forget about the Mana Prism. If you find one, once you get Soul Bat, you're pretty much, can wing smash to your heart's content.
Oh man, Rain's not going to check the super hidden area.
That could be a Chrysagram right there, man.
I think he'll be happy to take his shield rod and
absolutely.
It, so it's kind of a annoying room to go through if you don't have access to, say, the wolf charge or.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta be real desperate to go for that one. Yeah.
Yeah, there's Shuriken right there, but he doesn't need either of those items, so off we go. So something to keep in mind for, again, as a accessibility type of thing. For those of you that have played Symphony of the Night, you know that you need 5 Dracula relics in order to access the final room of the game. Because of the relic randomizer, those relics do not necessarily have to appear in the second castle. So it is pretty important that the players try to make good checks over the entirety of the first castle. It is possible that you could take a gamble and skip 1 or 2 of them if you feel like you're getting a lot of the relics. Like maybe if you get 3 relics in the first castle or 4, I might be tempted to skip some of the ones in the first castle. But
yeah,
the
I was
way
gonna
the
say,
logic is, that's kind of unlikely.
Yeah, like how comfortable do you ever feel about skipping relic check?
Well, I mean, if I had to play against a player that had significant advantages over me, I would be pretty tempted to do so. Once again, I feel like this is very contingent on Manly to... He needs to gamble. Like, he is not going to beat Rain if they're doing similar pathing options. Unless Rain just dies, which I guess can happen since I don't think either player has saved yet. If you guys are wondering why saving could be important, as a general thing, saving restores your health and your mana. But more importantly for this tournament, if you die, you can reload your save. And if you make a bad check, like let's say you go all the way to the opposite side of the underground caverns and find nothing, you can soft reset and load your save. That is allowed under the tournament rules.
Yeah, save splitting is allowed, and in a lot of circumstances, it can save you over like the period of the entire seed. If you strategize your save splitting right, it can save you a good chunk of time.
Yeah, I've been informed that apparently Rain has saved in the library, but, you know, again, it's depends how much time you lose on deaths. I don't think death is going to be a primary concern of these guys, though, just because of the Alucard shield and the Alucard mail. But, you know, people do die in certain speedruns, so...
I'm starting to get very curious about where this bat is. So they haven't done Olrox yet. I don't believe they've checked the center room and the clock room, so that's looking like where it's going to be. Rain is heading into Spike Breaker soon, and will be able to navigate it fine with Powered Mist and Form of Mist, but it looks like
has Echo.
Also
so...
has Echo, yeah.
But,
yeah,
he can literally do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
if he wants.
This is going to be a late Soul of Bat get, for sure.
It's a joke, by the way, because they don't have bats, so... But yeah, he does have access with the moving mist.
They can use Echo with Form of Mist, right? Yeah.
Oh boy, I can't wait to use my Echo location when I'm in Mist. Fart Cloud's well known for their Echo location. For those of you perhaps just joining, welcome. My name is Turbodog702. I'm joined here by S Diesel. We're doing commentary for Easy Zero Mash's Symphony of the Night Randomizer tournament. This is being hosted on the NASA Marathon Twitch page. They decided to allow him to use that. And we've been doing organization through the Long Library Discord. We are currently playing on a Symphony of the Night randomizer that was primarily developed by Wild Mouse. Be sure to check out his work at SOTN.io. If you guys are interested in the tournament, both the brackets and the rules, you can go to tournament.soten.io and get more information on that. We will be having additional matches that are listed. You can always follow MASH on Twitter to be able to see when those are happening. I believe we have another match tomorrow. If you have any information on that, Diesel, off the top of your head.
I do. We have 2 matches tomorrow. Let me pull that up. I believe one is at... grab the schedule here. One match is at 7 p.m. EST, and then the other is at 11 p.m. EST. First one is between Audriel and Chris Naga. Second match at 11 between SSB Stu and the Satellite 54.
All right. So we have... Rain did return to the library and picked up the duplicator along with a second Ring of Varda. Also picked up just kind of a filler for his headgear and the ballroom mask.
Yeah, was able to conveniently use that library card. Like, if you have a library card after Spike Breaker, very good time to use it, because it's a little bit faster than backtracking all the way to the portal to head to your next relic location, whether it be heading to go get Silver Ring or heading to Olrox. If you have it in your inventory, use it there. It's always good.
Of note, it is not necessary to head to Grand Falloon as well, because there is no relic being guarded by him.
Yep.
So something to note, again, if people are familiar with the glitchless Symphony of the Night speedrun, you might be surprised that they haven't used invincibility to bypass the spike room to get the silver ring. Per the rules of the tournament, you are required to have the spike breaker to get the silver ring, and you're required to wear it and not use invincibility to bypass that room. So by the rules of the tournament, you are kind of locked into picking up spike breaker before silver ring. All right, what else do we got here? So I believe I did talk about it, but sub-weapons are randomized out of items as you get them. So that's something that's interesting. We got the legendary turkey room up here. Gas cloud, not particularly exciting once again, but it could be relevant in very, very niche sick circumstances. Very, very niche. So for non-relic bosses, which is the bosses in the first castle, they will always drop their max up as normal. The relic bosses that normally drop the Dracula relics do have theirs randomized as well. So kind of moving forward, neither runner has gotten a huge influx of the Dracula relics, so it's looking like they are probably going to have to take a pretty standard route through the second castle. I don't know if they're going to be able to gamble at all.
Yeah, I don't think so. Rain did just pick up the third track piece, which was the Rib of Vlad. So right now we're sitting at 3 out of 5, which isn't too bad.
Yeah, when do you think is the cutoff to where you can start kind of making reroute decisions for second castle? Probably 4 relics, huh? Like I don't know if I'd do it with even 3.
I wouldn't do it with 3. I'd say 4. 4 is a good number because at worst case scenario, and I do believe Rain has a second library card in his inventory. Worst case scenario, if he has to come back to first castle to get a relic, the library card will shorten that trek to go back to first castle. But I think it's a pretty safe gamble. Just after 4, yeah, go ahead and start rerouting your way to second castle.
More referring to when you go into second castle, like changing the routing for that. The all bosses routing is kind of considered to be the best option, even in Randomizer. But
I gotcha. Yeah,
you could potentially change it up if you wanted to gamble and take a slightly different route. For example, if you got access to the relic in, say, Medusa's room, you could very, very quickly go to Drac and kind of finish the seed.
Right.
You could still always do the 2 checks at Darkwing Bat and Monster and then teleport back instead of going towards death if you wanted to take that approach. A lot of these aren't great options normally, but again, when you're talking about a skill discrepancy, you have to kind of make decisions that are a bit odd.
Yeah, in that situation, I agree. That's probably what I would do. If you're looking for 2, then you want to, like, I don't know, maybe think of, like, say you get the Darkwing Bat and you're still looking for 2 after that fight. Then you're like, well, if I activate the portal in the keep and then go to creature, and then maybe it's there, maybe it's not, and then I can take the portal back to the keep and do Medusa and Aquamadon. I think it also depends on how behind do you feel. Do you feel like you're behind? Do you feel like you're ahead? I think that definitely affects your decision.
Well, Rain is very, very quickly running out of relic checks. He's going to get 2 more here between Oil Rocks and the Sword card. Manly's making his way into the Catacombs to pick up his Spike Breaker. He'll have to backtrack all the way to get the Silver Ring. So at this point, he's pretty considerably behind.
For the most part, the one thing that both of these runners really don't have to worry about is their equipment. With Shield Rod and Alucard Shield, they're pretty good to last all the way to Drac. There's really no other item checks they need to do. They just need to find those Drac pieces and finish as quickly as possible.
Yeah, it would take a pretty severe misplay in order to take a death. But again, I mean, it is actually possible.
Oh yeah. And
But I
at
would not
41
expect
minutes
that.
and 30 seconds, we get our Soul of Bat. Sitting right there behind all rocks.
So, what are some of your favored dark horse weapons or whatever? Because everybody knows, hey, you know, Shield Rod's going to be busted, Chrysogram's going to be busted, a duplicator and anything's going to be busted. But like, what are some of the weapons do you think sometimes people are sleeping on?
I don't know if it's like the sleep on, but the Marcel is one of my favorite swords. It has a really nice little after effect of the flame that can do extra damage to enemies. It's relatively not slow. It's a little fast. But I like the Marcel. I like the rune sword. And they did get the Gur thing. I did like that one sword as well. But I think the Marcel is probably my favorite just regular sword out there that I like to use.
Yeah, it's things like Moblung is another thing that
Oh
if you
yeah.
don't know, then it's like the worst thing in the world. But if you do know, then it's like, hey, it's an upgraded shield rod.
Yeah. Moblung is a really good sword because has the same magical effects of shield rod, and it's actually a really decent attacking sword as well.
Yeah, you mentioned Marcel. Sword of Dawn is quite quick and has good range.
Yeah, you really want
Combat Knife and Basilard, but you aren't really going to take Combat Knife and Basilard to the end game, but they could be helpful for early parts.
Whatever's like a fast weapon. That's what you essentially want with high attack.
Yeah, the fist weapons are another kind of standout as well, as long as you have the ability to kind of space them out correctly. Of note, Fist of Tolkis actually has some niche properties that make it really, really good for Randomizer if you know them. Just the ability to bypass the spike room using Fist of Tolkis and like Mist or Wolf, for example. Yeah, unfortunately, Manly kind of expended his mana, so he's going to have to hold off on going to Olrox here. A little bit of a miss budget on his mana.
Yeah, just a little bit. I would like to note that Rain did make really good use of his routing. Heading in to get Holy Glasses at 44 minutes is really good time.
Yeah, he's going to get to do the relic check here as well. Yeah, not super exciting. So at this point, we have access to all three forms. Gravity Boots on Rain's side. I mean, this is...
Oh, there's another good weapon I like, the Holy Rod.
Yeah, Holy Rod's pretty good. Starflail as well.
Yeah, Starfall is really good too. The Moon Rod, I believe, is also not bad.
Moonrod, Moonrod's really good situationally.
Yeah, I think
it's
early
still a good weapon, but against large enemies, it just completely destroys them.
Yeah, it really does. Also, early game, it's really good.
And you might be wondering, why are we talking about Moonrod and Marcel and stuff? Well, because for Randomizer, you're not always guaranteed to get like the crazy good weapons. I would say that the library gives you a fair chance at getting something broken, which is another reason why I think an early check of library is warranted a lot of the time. But, you know, sometimes it's just a bunch of short swords and bastard swords.
And Basilards and combat knives. You never know.
And this really is kind of a thing where it's, what are your avenues to victory? You could debate and say that you do not need defensive power, but you need to be able to kill Dracula. So
Right.
if you can't do that, if you don't have a weapon, then you're gonna either have an extremely long fight hope that you have heart refresh for like holy water spam or something, or you just gotta find one. Rain should be very shortly making his way over to the second castle at this point. An interesting point of the randomizer tournament is because of the method in which we have to play, it could be rather uncomfortable for people on their controllers. Some people aren't as comfortable, basically, playing Symphony of the Night on the randomizer. But such is the way that we need to do this tournament, so I guess you just gotta adjust to it and work around it as best you can.
Did Rain not able to check this relic check right here before?
The one in the large room, he did.
Oh
He
yeah,
checked
you
it.
did. Okay. So I'm
Yeah, that was one of his
thinking,
early checks, but
yeah. So I'm thinking maybe he wasn't. Was he not able to get the portal in Castle Keep?
it's a good question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Either that or he just forgot. It's another
I have a
possibility,
feeling
I suppose.
I could have sworn he activated that portal, but he's definitely taken the long way there.
Yeah, it's... I'm kind of curious what... okay, never mind. I was gonna say Manly's just like walking up against the spike. I'm kind of curious what Rain is looking for. Because, like, he's breaking these things, but he already has the power he needs, so... I mean, I guess Mana Prism? Like, that's the only thing I can think of that he doesn't really have. But it seems like a lot of time investment checking these things instead of just hitting save rooms and such. I mean, that is kind of one of the temptations, right? If you've done the casual of the randomizer a lot, getting in the mindset that you don't need to check everything once you have the necessary items, right? So...
Yeah. Ooh.
So, Merman statue in first castle, that means that Rain can attempt to make a check on the opposite side of the Merman statue if he wants to.
That's a rough spot for Merman, especially if you haven't checked it up until this point. You're either going to take a gamble on not checking it or going out of your way to go check it.
Well, he has 3 relics, correct? So I think you have to.
Yeah,
don't
I mean,
do
that's a
anything
huge
ignore it.
gamble.
Now, on the flip side, if I was Manly and I noticed that, I would definitely take the risk. I mean, that's kind of one of the ways he gets back in this, I think, is if Rain does do that check and it doesn't pan out, and Manly just skips it and goes ahead, that is a pretty significant time investment to go check that.
Yeah.
Looking for Rain to make a save here before. Yeah, it looks like he agrees. He's
he's gonna go ahead and do the save split, I think, and then go check the holy symbol relic location.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to do this in this situation because it just takes way too much time to get back in this area.
Oh, it looks like Manly did go by in his second visit to the library. He went and bought duplicator, so that could also. Did. Oh, okay. I didn't know if Rain went back as well. Okay.
Yeah, Rain picked up the duplicator, a second ring of Varda, a ballroom mask just because, and maybe one other thing. Yeah, I think both of these players are getting a little bit punished for not necessarily picking up the teleporters as aggressively. But it's gambles, right? It's not really a lot you can do about it.
Right, yeah.
Really nice wing smash control here from Rain. It's going to drain his mana bar, but that's fine. Getting through there quickly is far more important.
Totally worth it. Yeah, that was really nice.
Yeah. He's also going to get access to a mana refill at the start of Caverns anyway. So, I mean, the question is going to be if Manly decides to go after the Merman statue or not, and if it's going to help Rain to do so. So I guess we'll see what happens here. Of note, Scylla does not have a relic behind her, so that is a useless check to these two individuals. Another thing of note for people that might be a little less used to high-level Symphony of the Night, you are pretty much required to have the Merman statue to get to this relic check. Otherwise, the ferryman does not show up at the dock to be able to take you. And the ferryman needs to reach a certain point in the screen in order for a large wall to be removed and you to move on.
Yeah, which is why another reason why you really want to hope for Mermaid Statue to be in first castle.
Yeah, so doesn't pay off for Rain. Rain possibly forgetting how to soft reset, so he might just hard reset here. Yeah, for resetting in Symphony of the Night, you need to hold start and select for like 2 or 3 seconds before it actually kicks in. So
Which
it's
is
possible that he just
something I just learned a couple days ago.
yeah. For those of you that don't know, Rain was trying to. It seemed at least like Rain was trying to do all the shoulder buttons start and select. That is a general soft reset for a lot of games of the PlayStation era, particularly Square soft games. So he just kind of blanked, I guess, on what the command was.
Yeah. I was told it's a lot easier to open up your map and then hold select start until it resets. So yeah, with the Holy Symbol Relic location being just Spirit Orb, not important. So Rain is going to go ahead and reload that save at the top of Castle Keep and going to be heading towards second castle and fighting Richter here. He's making a couple extra item checks just to see what's up there, it looks like. This is usually a really, really good item check if you are really bare equipment-wise.
Again, the only thing I can think that he's looking for is Mana Prism. Like,
Yeah.
nothing else makes sense to me why you would do checks still.
You would do checks right now because Mana Prism would be huge. And he's going to go for, the Shield Rod and Alucard Shield kill here.
This is actually not great.
This is very risky. Very, very risky. Oh, Unbridled Wrath!
Because he can kill Richter here. Like, there's kind of no reason for this, but whatever. Alright.
Ooh, that was scary close.
It wouldn't be the end of the world if he kills Richter, because then he just has to reload again, but, you know...
True, but
that's
I mean...
minute.
Yeah, it's a time loss you don't want for relatively very little time save.
Manly's going into Richter also at this point, so it looks like he's gonna forgo some things.
Yeah, I mean, this is a nice time save for
Well,
him.
that's one way to kill the orb.
That was great.
Yeah, I mean this is what Manly has to do in order to come out on this.
And for all we know, he probably feels that he's either behind or he knows that he needs to make a gamble at this point to catch up a little. And looks like Rain is going to go ahead and head towards the left side of Inverted,
Yeah,
towards
I mean,
Creature first.
they only have 3 relics, so this makes sense.
Yeah, I didn't look. Did Rain act? I'm assuming Rain activated that Castle Keep portal.
He did, from what I saw.
Okay. And we have route divergence yet again. Manly's gonna head towards Medusa and Aqueduct.
Maybe we'll see first.
Okay,
He
see
might
if
be
he's
just picking up the teleporter.
Gotcha.
He is not picking up. Okay, maybe he already picked up the teleporter and he is going for Medusa. So. Yeah, Rain's running short on mana here, so he's gonna have to wait a little bit. Another kind of underrated item until you get access to something like full mana prisms. Mystic Pendant is actually decent for these as well.
I really like the Mystic Pendant, yeah. For me, I don't know, it feels like an item I don't get often enough.
Of note, Manly's path doesn't just completely take him out of this, by the way, if the gamble doesn't pay off, but it does put him considerably behind compared to a traditional route like Rainstaking.
Ooh, and there's a Cubazo on Medusa.
Okay, so that pretty much guarantees that Manly is going to have to go after Death, I guess, would be his next most viable thing.
Yeah. Manly's probably, gonna head straight. He's gonna do Akmadon and probably head straight to Death. And then before that, check the reverse holy symbol relic location and do a save split there. And then head to Death after that.
I mean, honestly, I probably would have made a... Well, I don't know. I was considering maybe you would make a save at the Castle Keep before doing this, but...
Yeah, Force of Echo.
I guess if you had to... Yeah, I guess if you had... yeah, that wouldn't be great. Maybe make a save at All Rocks or something. I don't know. There's not really a great way to tackle this castle while minimizing risk, other than to just take the traditional route.
Oof.
Fairy Scroll is not great, so if Fairy Scroll is here, that means that it's gotta be on Death and Akmadon, right? So...
Yeah.
Or possibly behind Galamoth. But
Behind
that's still on the way to
Galamoth.
Death.
Force of Echo.
I mean, this is what I was talking about. I mean, this is how Manly wins this race. Is deciding to take this divergent path.
And it's Leapstone
Leapstone.
at Akmadon.
Yeah, Leap Zone, not exciting, so that's Death and Galamoth then.
Yep. So we have 3.
Or there is one other place, the Force of Echo.
Correct. Yeah. So we have three relic checks left. Rain is going to take the path to Medusa and Akmadon, and really it's going to come down to if what I'm going to assume, and maybe we'll see where Manly goes.
Did Rain make a mistake? And
oh no,
yeah, I don't think he.
Maybe he thought he saved and reverse keep.
That's the only thing I can think of, because, and even then, he could have taken the teleporter without a ton of risk.
Yeah, because I didn't see him hit that teleporter, but yeah, the only thing I can think of is maybe he thought he saved and reverse keep. That was a soft reset.
Now the question is if he's gonna remember to take the teleporter here. I guess he doesn't need the teleporter here. He could take the one at Olrox instead, because he didn't check Akmadon, from what I recall. So Manly is going to be considerably ahead going into the lower part of the castle. Like, Rain has to know with that stuff happening that he can't check stuff now.
Yeah.
Like, he has to be beelining for the relics.
It's going to be interesting to see where he goes here. If he makes a gamble on creature, or if he plays the numbers game, he's going to head towards Force of Echo and Death. And then if he's going to play a huge gamble, he's going to head straight to creature.
So Rain is going to get access to the Leap Stone, which does give him back kicking. So that'll give him the ability to make up a little bit of time. Again, particularly relevant in the case of not infinite mana. Manly needs to be careful.
This room is very
still
scary.
Kill you.
Yeah, this is a very scary room if you're not careful.
Yeah, so is spikes hitting you in the face. I'm actually curious if Manly has any healing and if he's going to elect to use it if he does. At this point, he should be fine because he can hit the save point as long as he doesn't get zapped.
Yeah. And he's going to head towards Force of Echo and Death, which is, for the most part, the right move here if he wants to play the numbers game.
I mean, those are the only checks left, right? Is Galamoth, Force of Echo, and...
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't done creature yet, but...
so now the interesting thing is, will Rain decide to go for Force of Echo, and will Manly try to go for Force of Echo? Because that is a decent time investment if you miss it.
Manly is going for creature. Oh no. He's going for a gamble here.
Yeah, this is easily a mistake. I hate to be like this because hindsight's 20/20, but it's like let's say you go to creature and it's not there. Like, you are so far behind in a race where you already made a gamble to try and make up time.
Right. I could see this play if he was only looking for one drag piece. But if he's still on the hunt for two, this is...
I don't think so, because even if you were looking for only one drag piece, you have 3 pieces to check at the bottom of the castle. You have 1 you're checking here. He's already checked Darkwing Bat. Yeah. So he is going very far out of his way to check 1 location. He doesn't really have any great access to the start of the castle either, or the middle of the castle. Like, this is a...
The only thing I can think of is that he must feel like he's way behind. That's the only.
But
Well, that would be my only reasoning behind.
That doesn't make any sense though, because if you feel like you're way far behind, why would you go out of your way for the 1 relic check instead of the 3, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. I've never seen this play. I've never seen this routing before, so I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean he'll be able to warp back, which is nice, but I mean, yeah, I just feel like that was not a decision that I can justify making.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm just trying to think of like what possible scenario he's going over in his head right now.
Well, the big question here is, once again, is Manly going to try to go for Force of Echo?
Right.
And is Rain going to try to go for Force of Echo? And for that matter, what is at Force of Echo?
It'll definitely tell us what kind of seed we have in our hands, whether it be Force of Echo Death, Force of Echo Galamoth, Death Galamoth. So pretty much at this point, it's going to come down to execution.
Yeah, you could definitely make a save before checking Force of Echo as well, but
yeah, that's a preferred save split right there. You save right before Force of Echo. If Force isn't anything, soft reset.
Well, they're both all in on this, it looks like.
So. Yep. They've almost and there's one ring. Okay, we got a ring of Vlad there.
So even though Manly came into this significantly ahead, again, this is where that skill gap could very well come up. I mean, we'll see what happens. We kind of jokingly said that, like, you know, what happens when the streams get desynced? And because, spoilers for people, if there's a difference of, like, less than 10 seconds between players, it's kind of hard to tell who won the match. So, I mean, originally I wasn't thinking that was going to happen, but we'll see what happens here. I'll be very interested if the players are willing to kind of talk strategy here at the end of this. I'm going to be kind of interested in a couple of questions from them. As kind of referring to some of the other stuff from earlier on in the stream, welcome everybody. This is EZ0 Mash's SOTN randomizer tourney that he's been running. We are using the NASA Marathon channel that they've decided to provide to help us out with hosting this. And it is kind of getting organized and worked through with the Long Library Discord, which is a SOTN-based Discord based mostly on high-level play of this game. We are currently playing a randomizer tournament that is available at SOTN.io. It's primarily made by Wild Mouse with contributions from a number of people on the side helping them test out stuff and general logic type things. So feel free to go ahead and check that out. You can check more information on the rules of the tournament, tournament matches, and the like at tournament.soten.io if you're interested in that.
So we definitely got ourselves a close one here. Last piece was on death. We've got Manly taking the portal to right by Dracula, and we've got Rain backtracking.
No, he was taking it to Ulrich, so he's going to get through a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Once again, teleporters coming in useful. Moblung Sword, completely useless since he already has the Shield Rod.
That would have been nice
Jack of Bones playing
earlier,
their
though.
best. Funny
That would've
enough,
been-
that is exactly the place where the Shield Rod was in the first castle.
Yeah, that's actually really good. All right, so at about 112, Manly is about to enter the Drac room, and Rain is about, I would say, 30 to 40 seconds right behind him, maybe in less than that.
Manly needs to stop with this. He doesn't need to do this stuff. Yeah. He needs to get in there and start fighting. Maybe he stops at the save room to get a mana refill, but he needs to get fighting right now. He doesn't need to mess around with his gear. And I don't think Rain's going to make that mistake. So Rain also is coming in here with significantly more mana. All right, Manly's going to take it and go with the mana he has. That's not terrible. He's got a lot of levels, so it's possible that he could win this off of the mana he has available. He also has access to Duplicator and Buffalo Stars or Power Sire if he just gets completely blown out. We'll have to see who duns first inside of the chat here, or the side.
It looks like Manly is going to have just enough mana for this.
He is going to get mana regen as this cutscene's loading also.
Right.
So I think he'll be okay as well. Still, it's going to be a matter of how many or how far behind the streams are, it seems like. Because there's not really a lot you can do to optimize the Drac fight. And I am watching in the chat for Manlyness has not done, so.
And yep, there we go. GG to Manlyness.
Yeah, really close. Less than a minute between the two of them.
Big comeback for Manly. GT to Rain as well, as he is finished up merely seconds after Manlyness. A 114.06 from Manly and a 114.19 from Rain.
For what profit is it to a man if he gains the world and loses his own soul?
All right. I'm checking for the two. Or I'm asking the two runners if they'd be interested in doing kind of questions.
Little post-race interview, yeah.
What a match that was.
What a match. We do have them both in Race Channel 1. I don't know if they want to
Yeah, I'm
join
going to
us.
go ahead and get that in just a minute. I have to drag them in here.
Sounds good.
I just want to make sure I understand who I'm bringing in. Low Rain. Just checking to see if Manly wants in on this.
GG Rain.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah,
seed.
I mean. So, I mean, I guess we can start with a couple of questions for you, Rain. So this is something that Manly actually, I think, had the same thing happen as well. When you first went to the librarian, Did you make a conscious decision to not pick up the duplicator, or did you merely just kind of buy things as you were going down the list and
There
missed
wasn't
it?
mana prisms. There wasn't like any easy access stars. I just didn't see uh, without a mana prism or something else. Like it's not necessarily better to get a duplicator. Like mana prism plus duplicator, end of the sea. Doesn't matter whatever else you get because you can pick up some fatterings. But I didn't see anything good to throw. There's a couple shurikens and stuff, but
So you basically saw like, hey, there's nothing great in the library, and I
there's
hadn't picked up anything at that point, so you just
Varda
decided to kind of forgo
because it's 15 stats. You throw Varda on and
Okay.
anything becomes endgame equipment.
it.
Like that's the thing is you have to look at that, and they put Varda and Duplicator right next to each other.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, you hadn't seen anything like broken to combine with duplicator at that point, so it's like
And then
take the
it
Varda.
had given me already a library card, so I was like, well, I can return and buy the Duplicator, which I later did.
Yeah.
Right. So it was like at the time of the noticing, the Duplicator I don't think was the correct pickup. But
Okay.
and then
No, that's fair.
I'm guessing Manly didn't just he went up to check top before he went downstairs, huh?
He made a lot of gambles that I actually talked about in the match itself, where I was discussing like kind of the avenues that how the ways that Manly would kind of have to scheme his way back into this match. Speaking of which, I'm going to go ahead and bring Manly into this here. Hello, Manly.
How's it going?
Hey, Manly GG.
GG, mate, GG.
GG. I'm sure a lot of brackets got busted.
All of them did, apparently.
So
Except for my one right now.
So I posed a question to Rain, and kind of the same thing happened with you, Manly. We had noticed in the library that both you and Rain had opted. It seemed like you guys were buying down the list and then didn't kind of grab the duplicator immediately.
That's exactly what happened with me because there was a $200 Buffalo Star that I bought, and I was going to use it.
Yeah, so Rain made the decision just based on what he had seen at the seed that far not to pick it up. But I was kind of curious on your thoughts on that, especially when you had like the Varda as an option as well. Like, kind of what was your thought process for that?
So yeah, it was literally going down the list. I would have bought one Varda and one duplicator if I had known that it was there, but I'm impatient.
Well, I revisited the library like 3 times, but I only bought out of it twice. So I'm guessing mainly you went either like I'm pretty sure Turbo knows I checked everything but Galamoth. Everything but
Yeah.
Galamoth.
So basically, what happened, how I caught up was I checked keep last. Other than like I went straight to keep, but I couldn't get up. So what happened is I got Merman statue very very last, and then I went, okay, I've got 3 relics. I'm not checking Merman statue. I need to do something to catch up. So that's
Yeah,
that was
that
apparently
was
just enough because I saved Scum to check Merman and I saved Scum to check Creature, and unfortunately I forgot I meant to save before going to Darkwing and I didn't, so I had to redo it Richter.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
gonna be my next major question. I figured it was either you thought you saved or you meant
I had
to.
meant to, and I'm not like I can't even recall if I went to the save point. I think I went down and just went over, and I didn't think about it.
Yeah,
Because I went straight up to the warp point because it's faster if creature has something to dip down, warp back to that point, and then go forward, right?
yeah.
so that's how you save Scum him.
No, I just save Scum him by just doing it, and then Darkwing didn't have anything, and then I mean, all said and told, I did end up with Shield Rod Alucard Shield, so
I also had Mublong sword, so
Oh,
Yeah, you got
Mablon
that
was
early.
also the same
Think
spot
that.
as Shield Rod in the inverse. So
Yeah. So I'll kind of like go between people here so that we get a clear idea of who's going to talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
So something that I at least had made a note of during the match, you guys had a really large influx of pretty good gear starting at the beginning and continuing on. Something that I had noticed, Rain, was you had continued to do checks when you kind of had a critical power threshold. And the only thing that came to mind to me that you might be checking for was a mana prism. Was I
that
correct
was
in
it.
that?
That
Yeah.
that's it. I mean, I had Duplicator, and all it takes is Mana Prism at any point, and MP worries go away. That's all. That's free wing smashes everywhere. I don't have to worry about my keeping a shield rod on in case I bottom out on my MP and it deactivates. Right?
Yeah.
It keeps worries away, and I tried to limit it to areas that were dense at first. Well, I didn't do that, but as I went further, I was like, I'm running out of spots. I just need to stop doing dense spots. And then I think I did take a risk in the inverse chapel dropping down, and that one paid off. Not for long, but it paid off.
Manliness, kind of along the same line, because it did feel like later on in the match you weren't doing quite as many checks. Did you just feel like you had a critical threshold of power and stopped looking? Did you feel pressured that you just had to make up time and couldn't afford the checks?
A bit of both. Most of the checks that I did at the start were basically to look for a shield. I stopped looking basically once I picked up that um, Power of Sire, because that's when I knew I had everything I needed. So Power of Sire, a Buffalo Star, and then I knew I was going back for a duplicator, so I stopped looking.
So another thing that I mentioned, this was something that I had mentioned in the match as a way that you get back in this, and there was like a couple of really key points. We had mentioned that Manly, you had decided not to make the check with the merman statue, but other really important parts. As mentioned, Rain had not made his save that he wanted to return to at Second Castle. But another thing that was a very big decision point, I think, uh, for both of you, and I'm curious for both sides of this because you both had to feel pressure at this point, I kind of feel like. What was the decision process to check Force of Echo? And did you second guess that at all before making that decision? We'll start with Rain.
Well, at that point, I had checked everything else, so I was at 2 spots with 3, and I didn't want to have to go to Galamoth. That was the end of it. Like it was that if that wasn't there, I knew I was going to Galamoth. And that point, I had to huff it, and then I felt I was gonna, and then I would feel more comfortable in my position. Not anything against you, Manly, but I know that when it comes to getting to Galamoth, it's not the easiest thing, so that usually bogs down people.
Yeah.
Manly, same question.
I mean, if you're not checking Force of Echo on the way to Dracula, you're just wasting time, to be honest.
Yeah, because we had discussed that like it could have been Death and Galamoth, and possibly like a type of like save splitting to get back in that area. That seemed like the last critical point to me personally. It's like because at that point, if let's play devil's advocate. If that relic isn't there and one person goes there and the other doesn't, that's like 30, 40 seconds, right?
Mm.
Like
Well,
even with the
Correct.
considering
save
this
split.
match was 7-10 seconds apart,
Yeah.
not like. And I'll be honest, like I feel like that's the difference between me making the right save or not, which is kind of
Yeah.
on my own part.
To be honest, where I save scum for creature can actually double up as a save scum for Force of Echo. So
Funny enough, that so I guess I'll cover that. Manly, by going to creature, you kind of what was your thought process in going to creature? Because I feel like going Darkwing and then heading towards Medusa like you had done was a clear consideration that like, hey, I've got to be behind, and he is going to check this after, so I might as well check it first to possibly get ahead.
Yeah, 9 out of
But
10 people will not check creature to last. So
but then you decided to instead go to creature, which seemed like a very, very easy to point out misplay. What was your thought process in like taking the gamble to take the right side of the castle first, but then kind of like second guessing yourself? It felt like to loop back around a creature
well,
instead of heading towards death.
that there is actually my general play. I always check creature there because checking creature there is faster if you've got 2 or less relics than if it's at Galamoth. If it's at Galamoth, it's uh, it's obviously slower, but if you check creature and something's there, it's still faster to come back from creature than it is to come back from Galamoth.
So you would rather check creature than over getting access to the 3 relics, kind of one after the other instead?
Well, what happens is if I go to creature and something's there, and I need 1 more relic, I can go check Force of Echo. If it's there, I can backtrack. If it's at Dracula, I can take the next warp instantly. If it's at Galamoth, I have to go up to Galamoth and then come back and go through that warp anyway. So in my mind, it's faster to check creature, and if it's there, it's there. If it's not, save scum back. No time loss.
So, any other kind of general thoughts on the seed or your strategies all around? We'll start with Rain.
I just regret. I had the thought instead of going to basement to just go up and finish that check, and I should have, because then I would have. I had access to everything up there, and so I would have been able to get that merman statue and avoid that costly. Okay, I got it now. Second castle's in front of me. Let's go back and do that check. I'd have done it in sequence. And the other thing is that had the diamond, which also helps out with the money problems because I had spent my money, so I was looking to try and get a bit more to get that duplicator on the second buy. But I think between the stuff that happened, I kind of wish I would have gone topside just because then it also gives me some other outs or quicker ways to get stuff.
Manly, your thoughts on kind of general strategy stuff?
I mean, I am both happy and unhappy with my route. I'm happy that I went and checked top as quick as I did, but because I didn't pick up Olrock's warp, it cost me so much time just to come back, grab it, and then continue on my way. I wish I picked up the duplicator earlier. That would have given me even more movement speed. But overall, that merman statue, yeah, if I had picked that up earlier, or if I was going any faster, I would have actually gone back and checked that. So me going as slow as I did, thankfully, pulled off in the end. So
All right. Real quick, before we kind of clean up here, if anybody in the chat has any questions for the 2 runners, I'll go ahead and kind of field those and feed them out to you guys. Just as a reminder, you guys have been watching the randomizer tournament that's been put together by EZ0Mash or Mash_MX on Twitter. He's running this tournament on the NASA Marathon Twitch. They are allowing us in order to use access to their account for the purposes of broadcasting this. We've also been using the Long Library Discord for kind of organizing the event. There's a Discord server dedicated mostly to high-end SOTN play, but kind of just in general SOTN. We have been playing a randomizer that was designed by Wild Mouse with some assistance from some other people, mainly for testing things and working out logic. You can check out that at SOTN.io. That's SOTN.io. You can also check out the tournament rules and the brackets at tournament.soten.io. And they have a large variety of things there. Of note, we do have some matches that are going to be coming up as well. I'm going to go ahead and have Mash talk about those in a little bit. It doesn't look like anybody has any questions inside of the chat, so I think we're going to be okay here.
Can we talk about how many library cards there were in that seat? Holy hell.
Three of them. I got
Three
all.
of them. Ridiculous.
Might have been 4. I didn't check to see which one was under the bridge. I didn't wait for it.
It was a meal ticket.
And there was 3, and I used all 3.
It
All
was
right.
Such a seed.
So, Mash, if you want to kind of talk about what you plan to do with the tournament and the upcoming matches, I've been TurboDog702. Helping code commentate with me has been S Diesel. Hopefully, you guys have enjoyed the matches, and we'll see what happens in the next few days.
Great,
Over, Mash.
great match.
Yeah, I enjoyed thoroughly by watching it. I was a little slacking on the relic tracking there. Every time I turned away, someone picked up a relic. I was like, oh, okay. I was kind of like, oh, does Manly have Rib yet? Like, it took forever for him to finally find Rib before he headed to second castle. But yeah, everything played out pretty well. I mean, considering the amount of time that I felt like he lost in the early to late game trade-off once they got to second castle. So. But he still pulled ahead and managed to snag a win by mere seconds, really. But yeah, on the screen here we have the current upcoming match schedule here. We just finished the Rain versus Manly match here, and tomorrow we have 2 matches. We have Adriel versus Chris, 7 p.m. Eastern or 11 UTC. And we have 2 versus Satellite at 11, which is just like 3 hours after that match, and that's at 3 a.m. UTC. So 2 matches coming up tomorrow. Could be a hell of a time on the rando front for SOTN. But yeah, so this tournament has gotten off to a pretty good start. We had a bit of a slight delay at the early points of setting everything up, making runners and stuff was all good to go. So I hope everybody's been enjoying their time broadcast, and hopefully the runners also felt like they had a good time as well. And I'd like to say thank you to the commentators, TurboDog and S Diesel, for commentating the match. It's nice to have like community commentation done. So if people are interested in doing commentary for stuff like this, join the communities, get part of that. I mean, there's plenty of SOTN runners that are in the Discord, and they do feel like they want to commentate some of the later matches, then feel free to let us know. But yeah, so this is a best of 1 tournament. It's a double elimination, so even if a player does lose a match, they do have a chance to come back in the lower brackets there. So Rain will be traveling to the lower brackets against whoever ends up being paired against him. Let me go ahead here and just put the score here so we know what happened. So it's already been reported, so that's good. So Rain's heading down to lower. I have no idea who's going to be joining him in the days to come. This tournament's probably going to go, I would say, this month and most of next month for sure. We have 42 matches to go through, so quite the length of a tournament with 22 participants. Any other questions? Anybody that I might have missed? Anything?
Doesn't look like it, so if you want to wrap it up, we can get out of this shebang.
Yeah, so yeah, and thanks for watching, guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed the Randomizer tournament so far, and we look forward to broadcasting the rest of the matches in the days to come. So make sure that you are following my Twitter if you do want to see when that stuff's coming up, as well as maybe peek your head into the Long Library Discord. There's links relevant to that on SOTN.io, as well as the tournament page as well. So feel free to go check that stuff out. And there is a challenge community page as well that's been set up. Should people want to organize tournaments in the future, we'll be able to track stats and all sorts of stuff like that, and communicate between ourselves, and you know, kind of organize and set all this stuff up as we want to do that. So thanks for watching, guys, and hope you guys enjoy the rest of your morning, day, or night wherever you are.
Thanks, everybody.